My name is Johnny Laursen. I'm the Dean of the Faculty of Arts. We will now bestow this year's honorary doctorates. The first honorary doctorate is Professor Ann Rigney, who will be presented on a short video on the screen behind me.
People accept storytelling as a part of life, but they never really reflect on it. And I think certainly in today's age of mass media and social media, where we are constantly being fed different stories, I think it's extremely important that we understand how stories are constructed and how we might be able to recognize the stories which are actually more persuasive or should be more persuasive than others. My first book was about the historians of the French Revolution, and I've written a number of books along the way. But my most recent book, and the one I'm still think is a very important step forward, is about the afterlives of Walter Scott, and it's about the ways in which, once a story has been produced, what happens to it. Traditionally, people looked at stories in themselves, how they were made, and I've shifted the emphasis to looking at the way stories are used. And I particularly looked at what we call the reception of this particular novelist, a very famous novelist, and looked at the ways in which people reproduced his stories, acted out his stories, referred to his stories in street names, in theatre productions, in film productions. And so I began to trace the ways in which a story survives in society over many generations. I like to think I've made an important contribution to the development of what we call cultural memory studies. Cultural memory studies is this study of the ways in which societies remember through all sorts of media. This is a very recent field, which is an interdisciplinary field, and I have tried to develop the study of the literary and medial dimensions of cultural memory. And we, through cultural memory studies, are developing concepts with which to analyze these processes of contestation and negotiation around the collective past. And we're also developing a larger sense of the history of the practice of commemoration and of the production of cultural memory. What does Aarhus mean for me? To begin with, the great honor of being here today and to receive this honorary doctorate. But it follows on a history of very successful and intense collaboration with various colleagues in Denmark and particularly in Aarhus. And given my own background in cultural memory studies, I've been delighted to see the development of this focus area on the uses of the past, which will allow me to continue my collaboration with historians and cultural scholars here in Aarhus around issues of representation, narrativity, and cultural memory.
I would like to invite Professor Rigney to come forward. Thank you. Professor Rigney, you're Professor of Comparative Literature at the University of Utrecht. You're an outstanding scholar and one of the most influential researchers in the field of cultural memory studies, where the impact of your research reaches far beyond the study of literature. Your analysis of how literature and other arts take part in developing and maintaining cultural memory has been exemplary to other scholars. Your meticulous tracking of the impact of the virtual monuments produced by literature and of how they relate to important events and how the aesthetic qualities of the works relate to them is interdisciplinary research at its very best. You've been a frequent visitor to Aarhus University. You have participated with scholars from Aarhus University in several networks and published in works edited by researchers from Aarhus University. Given the importance of the study of the uses of the past and given your key role in furthering the field, we are convinced that the collaboration will thrive also in the future. We're delighted that you've been able to devote so much of your valuable time to Aarhus University, and we treasure what you have done for this university. It is my great privilege and pleasure to confer upon you the degree of Doctor Philosophia Honoris Causa at Aarhus University. Congratulations, Professor Rigney. I now leave the floor to Niels Christian Nielsen, Dean of Science and Technology.
I'm a research director at INRIA in France, and I run the research group called Ex Situ for Extreme Situated Interaction at the University of Paris-Saclay. Interestingly enough, I started out pretty much hating computers. I took my first computer course in college. We had punch cards in those days, and it was very boring. And I thought I would never touch a computer again. And then later on, I became an experimental psychologist, and I was working with data, and I realized that for somebody like me, who didn't particularly like computers, computers could still be really useful to help me do the things that I actually was interested in. And so I then moved to Digital Equipment Corporation, and it was at a really exciting time where we started learning how to be able to put video and text and graphics on computers. And I got very excited about creating computers that people could use to teach themselves how to use computers.
So she would do this first, and then you would build up like that.
So I've been working in an area that in the early days we called augmented reality, but in those days we actually meant something much broader than the term now. So it's not just people looking through glasses and seeing video and projected on top of that, but any kind of interaction with the physical world that brings the computer or computational information into physical objects. And the reason that's critical is because as human beings, we're really good at interacting with physical objects. We intuitively understand how they work, we understand the laws of physics, and we can appropriate objects and tools in all kinds of very powerful ways, even though we have a simple form of interaction.
Do you have any another one?
Video in here?
Yes.
Okay.
Here.
I find it very challenging and interesting to deal with people not only from different countries but from different disciplines. So we work with designers and computer scientists and social scientists. And my own background is one that mixes social science and computer science, for example. And I think if you want to really build technology that empowers people, you have to understand people from a variety of different perspectives. I can't possibly have all those perspectives myself. So it's really great having a group of students and actually other faculty that come from different countries with different backgrounds and different perspectives. I have a long relationship with Aarhus. My very first contact was via Susanne Bodker when we were both early in our careers. I was working on my PhD. I think she might have finished hers, but we were both roughly the same time frame. Actually, I ended up meeting my husband at a workshop that was sponsored at Aarhus University, Michel Baudouin-Lafont. And since then, we've had students come back and forth. We send our students there, they send their students here. So it's been a very collaborative, positive collaboration over the years.
I would like to invite Dr. Wendy Elizabeth Mackay to join me on the floor. Dr. Wendy Elizabeth Mackay is truly one of our great scientists of our time. Mackay's research in human-computer interactions is internationally renowned, and she's among the best-cited researchers in the field. Mackay received her PhD from MIT and created a multidisciplinary research group at Digital Equipment Corporation that produced the world's first commercial interactive video system and more than 30 computer-based education products in the 80s. At Xerox Europark, Mackay created a research group that was among the first to explore media spaces, tangible computing, and mixed reality interfaces. Mackay's work on interdisciplinary methods, augmented reality, interactive paper, multimedia, tolerability are all world-class and internationally highly cited. Mackay has inspired a massive number of scientists in academic and industrial research and has had an extensive collaboration with Aarhus University. Several professors at the Department of Computer Science, Morten Køng, Kurt Jensen, Olaf Bertelsen, and Susanne Bødker, among others, has benefited greatly from this collaboration. We expect that these close interactions will continue for many years to come. Dear Wendy, on this background, it is my greatest privilege and pleasure to confer upon you the degree Doctor Scientiarum Honoris Causa at Aarhus University. Congratulations to Wendy Mackay. I will now give the floor to Lars Bo Nielsen, Dean of the Faculty of Health.
Ken is really great to work with, and he's just sort of a giant in terms of epidemiologic methods. I mean, he's written all the textbooks. I used his first edition of Modern Epidemiology when I was in graduate school.
He is a very thoughtful thinker, and he has a very critical approach to medical writing and to designing epidemiological studies.
When I was a doctoral student, even a master's student, I mean, Ken Rothman's book was the Bible of epidemiology, and if you knew the content of that book, you were going to make it as an epidemiologist.
There's never any barrier to learning when you're talking with Ken because he's just so terrific at presenting ideas clearly. That comes through when he's teaching, it comes through when he's writing, it comes through just in casual conversations with him, and I think has been a large part of why he's been so influential in our field.
This is old news, but if you really want to understand a topic, then you have to teach it. To try to get the teaching down the way you want it, I found I had to explain it to myself, and I had to write it out in notes, and the notes became something I would give to students, and that evolved into a textbook.
Dr. Rothman came to Aarhus University in '86 and gave a course in modern epidemiology. And we developed this collaboration since '91, and we have had several ongoing studies between this department and his department at Boston University. And we have a cohort study on risk factors for infertility, and the cohort study has now been ongoing for close to 10 years now.
We started a journal. When we started it, we had a long-range plan. And that plan was to offer opportunities to epidemiologic researchers that didn't exist in other journals, to have more controversial stuff published.
And he's always pushing me to be a better epidemiologist, to do the most valid analysis that I can, even if it's harder, even if it takes more complicated methods. It's going to be in print forever, and he wants it to be the best work that it can possibly be. And I really admire him for that.
That's where the real miracle occurs.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's one of the things I think I most admire about him, is his ability to bring methods down to sort of to my level.
He deserves the honorary degree because he's an excellent collaborator, he's a supporter of Aarhus University, and he's a great epidemiological thinker.
Is there anything else you'd like to tell us about Ken?
No, I think he's great.
So now I'd like Professor Ken Rothman to come forward. Dear Ken, what a fantastic introduction. Your colleagues said it, as simple as it is, you're a giant in terms of epidemiological methods. Your textbook, the Bible of epidemiology. With an H index of 93 and more than 55,000 citations, no one can doubt that. You're one of the founders of modern theoretical epidemiology. and you have provided an impressive contribution to the appreciation of the two key concepts within epidemiological and clinical research, that is, effect modification and a model for causality. You have developed the theoretical foundation for biological interaction, and these theoretical breakthroughs have had an impressive impact at the development of epidemiological analysis and the understanding between causality and preventive medicine. Your research is impressive, and you're an excellent teacher and mentor. I especially admire your willingness to share knowledge and inspire students and colleagues. Here at Aarhus University, we are proud of the long-standing collaboration with you, and we look forward to continue this success. It is therefore my privilege and pleasure to confer on you the degree Doctor Medicines Honoris Causa at Aarhus University. Congratulations, Professor Rothman, and I now leave the floor to Thomas Pallesen, my colleague and Dean at Aarhus BSS.
Johansen, I'm a professor of econometrics at University of Copenhagen, and I have worked also for 10 years at Aarhus University. Main speciality is the statistics and probability analysis of mathematical models. But for the last 30 years, I've spent analyzing statistical models for economic data. My main contribution to this field is the analysis of a statistical model for the economic time series, which I published together with Catherine Joselius some 30 years ago. It now has 30,000 citations, and that has resulted in the methods being used throughout the world. You can think of an economy as a system which is inherently in equilibrium, but being disturbed all the time. And the market forces then go in and try to bring back the economy to equilibrium. And the model we are analyzing has exactly these two aspects. One is the stable linear relations, we call them co-integrating relations, but also the adjustment to the equilibrium, which mimics what the market forces do. The models we have been proposing are being used in finance and in macroeconomics. In finance, people are following at very high frequency the development of stock prices and trying to find out when is the right time to buy and sell stocks, and to see if they can forecast crises, which are very important, as we have seen recently. In macroeconomics, the national accounts will measure unemployment, wages, productivity, and the politicians follow these time series in order to find out if the policy they suggest will have the desired effect.
There is not a central bank, there is not a larger financial institution globally who will not use or know of or have used already or implemented large parts of his research. But it also reaches out further than that. It also reaches into the recent debate on climate analysis, where his results and his way of analyzing climate data has led to new insights and new ways of analyzing climate data.
My association with Aarhus University has been focused for the last 10 years on the Center for Research in Econometric Analysis of Time Series, which was started some 10 years ago by Niels Haldrup, and who has managed to create a fantastic department with lots of econometricians, PhD students and postdocs, and an almost infinite stream of visitors. And it has been very inspiring. I have participated myself by giving courses there and supervise students, and I'm always looking forward to come there and meet the young people who are very inspiring.
I would like to invite Professor Søren Johansen to come forward. Professor Søren Johansen is an international leading and outstanding researcher. His scientific production is characterized by its innovativeness, its great impact, and its implication for econometric practice. Søren Johansen is the most influential Danish scientist within economics, and he has for several years been one of the most cited economists worldwide. Impressively, Søren Johansen's work has been cited more than 60,000 times. Wow. His research is published in 150 journals, often in international top journals, and his methods had become standard methodology in time series econometrics. Over the past 10 years, Søren Johansen has been affiliated with the Danish National Research Foundation Center of Excellence, created here at Aarhus University. Your contributions to the center have been significant, and it is highly appreciated. It is therefore my great privilege and pleasure to confer on you the degree Doctor Economicis Honoris Causa at Aarhus University. Congratulations, Professor Johansen. This concludes the bestowal of honorary doctorates, and I will leave the floor to Professor Lene Munksgaard.